gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice. And what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today is Friday, August 30th, 2019, and this is Season 3, Episode 5 of The Breakthrough Show. It's the spiritual view for your soul and mind, where we dig deep on today's spiritual hot topics and inspire you with the stories that change our lives. I'm Jessica Dugas, intuitive mentor, helping you to live with less stress and more joy, and the host of this show. And one of the best ways I believe that you can do that, living with less stress and more joy, is hearing life-changing stories from amazing people around the globe who will inspire you to do the same in your own lives. If you're joining us live right now on Facebook, please say hello in the comments of the video and let us know where you're joining from, and be sure to give us your thoughts on our topics throughout the show. If you're enjoying the show on video replay, give us a hashtag replay in the comments of the video so that we can say hi to you after the show. And if you're on podcast replay, hello and welcome, and thank you so much for being here. No matter where you're watching us from, we'd love to ask you to like, subscribe, and share this episode wherever you can, and know that we appreciate you so much for doing so today. We have an amazing show for you today. I am so excited because we've got HGTV Canada's own Gemini Award nominated Wendy Russell here today. She's joining us to talk about the breakthroughs that happen when you create inspiration in your life. Wendy has a really powerful story to share that you are not going to want to miss, so be sure you stay tuned for that. But first, do you have a business that, like the Breakthrough Show, is changing the world? Well, we would love to meet with you about becoming a Breakthrough Show sponsor or broadcast partner. Send an email to jessica@thebreakthroughshow.com or send us a message on our Breakthrough Show Facebook page, and let's change the world together. All right, now without further ado, we've got to welcome on our panelists today because we have to get to our hot topics. So first up in the show, we have our declutter coach and consultant, helping us to stay grounded and organized and decluttered throughout our breakthrough moments. Everybody, please welcome Heather Clark back to the show.
Hello, hello.
Happy new moon.
I know. New moon.
It is the new
Virgo.
moon. Yeah. In Virgo. She had a point. The Virgo had to point that out. The moon is in Virgo. That's very true.
It's
very
my season.
It is. It is totally your season. So new moon is all about, envisioning and manifesting the things in your life. What are you excited about envisioning this lunar month?
What am I not excited over? Oh my God, there's so many things. I literally.
Because it's your month.
I know. This is what thing. Like, how do I just pick one, or how do I just pick two? So now I have to go back tonight because I know I can do it tonight and plan, and actually pick what I want. But yeah, the podcast keeps coming up and it's not going away. So let's see. Let's see if I can get that done. Let's see.
You can do it. You can do it. Everybody tell Heather in the comments, you can do it, Heather. Let's build her up today. All right. Thanks for being here, my friend. Up next on the show, we've got Jeremy Witcher, who's helping us to bridge our lives between the spiritual and the human aspects. Everybody, welcome Jeremy back to the show today.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here. The topics, our guests, everything is going to be a great show. Really looking forward to it.
It's going to be so good. And I'm so glad to have you on because we met you on the season premiere. And then I'm like, where's Jeremy the last 3 weeks?
I was out in Louisiana catching alligators. So, we had things to do. But now I'm back and ready to go.
Very exciting. Very exciting. So we were talking about it being the new moon today. Do you have anything that is specific that you're envisioning this next lunar month?
Absolutely. We're rolling out several new programs and philosophies, and I'm telling you, the energy has been great. Of course, I had my moon in Aquarius a little while, so that was fun to create in that. So Heather, I know this is going to be awesome for you. I can't wait to see what you do. But yeah, we have a lot of new things coming up. Seems like that's the energy for a lot of our creators. So yeah, just interested to see how we're all progressing forward here.
Yeah, I think it had been I feel like it had been a rocky start to the year for so many people were just feeling this roller coaster of things going on. And so I'll be excited to see that follow through as well. I think the rest of the year, I feel like it's going to be really good. So and it's probably not a good time to be lazy, because if you're rolling out new things and if you are if you've got things to do, you shouldn't be sitting around and being lazy. But that brings us to our hot topic today, because I asked on Monday on the Breakthrough Show Facebook page what laziness means to you. And do you feel like you are ever lazy? And there were so many good, amazing comments. So I want to thank everybody that chimed in on that post, because I think honestly that it really comes down to what that word means to you. And there's a lot of people, myself included, that word is a major trigger for. What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to define what that word means. And it has been used in so many ways as a trigger for people. But if you look it up, one of the definitions for lazy is not willing to do an energetic exchange, which I think is beautiful and really important, because when you look at somebody not wanting to do something or being lazy, it is them not wanting to put the energy into that thing or process. We also I think we need to pull it away from the idea of a lazy summer. I think it's very important to recharge, and what a lazy summer is slowing down the energy exchange to a point where you can really enjoy it. You can really nourish yourself from what is being given and taken. But putting it into that idea of exchanging energy, you can see how there are a lot of us who just don't want to put energy to a certain place. And I find that it has two different things that it comes down to. It either comes down to not seeing the value in exchanging that energy, or a trauma that has happened in that energy point. So if you talk about a lazy person, usually what we're talking about is someone who, from my way of thinking, is someone who continually on every energetic point is unwilling to exchange an energy. So there's a clinical term which is called failure to thrive. So it really is about talking about when you're a lazy person, you're really on the kind of death cycle of this existence. And we say, no, that's not great. We need to come back. We need to, put some life into you. But I'm interested to know what Heather thinks about this, because oftentimes laziness has those trigger points, and it's not that I'm lazy, it's that something has happened with this particular process that is not working for me, either
That's so good.
on a lot of different ways. So
okay, well, I just love the fact that you actually put a definition to it. You must have Virgo in your chart somewhere. Because
I get this.
Like, it was just so funny, because I was like, oh, I've never this entire time ever looked up the word lazy. I just use it, but like looking it up in that way and seeing that it's that energy that you just don't want to like, like you're saying, you just want to swap that energy. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I could totally say so many more times where I just was like, I don't want to do that, because, oh yeah, I guess that would be labeled as lazy in that sense. But yeah, no, there's just times, like for me, like being very practical and stuff like that, there's just times I just don't want to do it. Now, whether you want to call that lazy is up to you, because I didn't like, there's certain times where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna have a lazy Sunday. Meanwhile, I'm still planning out my schedule. I'm still doing all that. It's just I'm not doing the major energy exchange.
You're not on camera with cute little curls and
no. Oh, you should have seen me this morning, man. Trust me, I was not lazy this morning, but I really wanted to be.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you talk about the definition too, because that's when we talk about things like this on the show, homeschool mom Jessica runs to dictionary.com and looks up words because I want to know the actual, there's got to be Virgo somewhere. So I want to know the actual definition of what it means. And it says adverse or disinclined to work, activity, or exertion, causing idleness, slow moving, or sluggish. So I don't know at what point in history we coined lazy as this bad thing, but sometimes we need to be slower moving. Sometimes we need to be idle. Sometimes we need to have that rest and recuperation time, like you were talking about, Jeremy. And so I think it's interesting because there was a couple people who had responded to the post on Monday who were like, I'm not lazy. I've never been lazy. I don't, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, go take a nap.
Oh, I will be lazy that way every day if I could.
Who likes naps? Raise your hand.
Yeah, and I think taking back that thing of what lazy is, because taking a nap is rejuvenating your energy source so that you can work more. And if you think lazy is all about always being in motion, no one can always be in motion. That actually is a very dangerous, we go into the workaholism and the overexertion, which will end up slowing down the process, whatever it is you do, and you are less creative. So I think it's very important to keep, even in our lazy moments, that summer day, or I'm going to go take a nap, is actually intentful. And maybe that is part of the distinction. Am I intentfully doing, or what is the intent? I know for me, just a real quick example, I was always found a way to leave a dish in the sink at nighttime. And my husband, when we first got together, that just irritated him. And I looked at that and I said, why am I being lazy? Well, going back to the layer, I realized my mom had always wanted to wash the dishes while we were watching Little House on the Prairie. And I wanted my mom to come and watch Little House on the Prairie with us. So it was my way to kind of stick it to my mom every night as an adult by leaving at least a cup or a knife or something in the sink. Once I realized what that was, I wasn't lazy anymore because I could exchange with that and let that go. And, I didn't have to do that energy exchange like that. But it really wasn't me not wanting to do it. It was me struggling with something from my past. So I think it's really important to know what it is we're actually talking about when we use the term lazy, because it's applied to so many things. And I think that's why it's a trigger for us.
Lazy for you is different from me. Like,
absolutely.
I like cleaning and I like doing the dish, not hand by hand. Don't give me dishes by hand, but I like cleaning and stuff like that. So to me, that feels lazy because it's just something I can do in my sleep. Whereas other people would be like, don't even give me any of that. That is way too much work energetically, like physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, I don't want to do it. So that's my lazy time, where other people, that's not theirs by any means.
Right. And I think knowing where you're putting that energy is super important. Yeah. Because they're putting it somewhere else where you're putting it here. Yeah. Sorry, Jessica.
No, it's okay. I was talking when Aaron Fisher was on the show on Wednesday. I was talking to him a little bit about this because he's always so wise in the things he talks about. And I was like, I have to hear what he has to say about this, even though he's not on the show Friday. And we were talking about the fact that, the other thing to look at is that our busyness versus laziness changes at different times in our lives. You may be really motivated to do something one day and you may be not the next day. And so I was talking to him, and I have to give a shout out, because I know that they're watching silently and not saying anything, to a couple friends that I play on Minecraft with my kids, because we were talking about this on Wednesday, that I spend a lot of time on there with my kids, and not just with my kids, but it's almost therapeutic for me too, where I'm at right now, because I'm dealing with a lot that is more serious in nature. It is so nice for me to take that time and just stack the blocks like the Virgo that I'm not. So it's just that, but is it going to be like that forever for me? I don't know, but I don't see it as lazy for me because I'm spending time with my kids. It's bringing me joy in my life right now. And maybe a couple months from now that won't be where I am, and that's okay. But yeah. I've had to get to the place of where I'm not allowing other people to tell me anymore, Jessica, you're just being lazy sitting on there like that with, it's my life, honey, Well,
because so much of your energy is spent with the other stuff that you're like, I'm going to take this and put as little energy to this because it's just fun.
Right.
And I know a lot of this comes from when we were told as a child, you're being lazy, you're not doing it. And really that goes back to someone teaching us the value of making your bed, of dressing yourself. Whereas as a child, I didn't see the value. Why should I be doing this math problem? Why should I be doing that? So there is that instillment of learning value to something that we may not have. But as we transition, we are finding our own value in something. So it's really important to transition those ideas and not be stuck in what other people's values were as they were training us, but learn our own values and bring those to the fore and give our own definition to what is me being lazy and what isn't. Yeah.
I love it. It's so many good thoughts about this. And I want to thank everybody again who chimed in on Monday's post, because it is a little bit of a vulnerable topic when we're talking about something that triggers us a little bit. And that word lazy seems to definitely do that in one way or another. I want to segue into our guest today by sharing Lori Ann Davis's comment where she says, I am more creative when I take downtime often enough. And we are talking about bringing creativity and inspiration into our lives today with our guest. And so I want to take a minute and introduce her as well. So today on the show, we have, as I mentioned, an incredible guest. She is best known as the host of HGTV Canada's She's Crafty. Wendy earned a Gemini nomination, inspiring audiences of all ages to unleash their own creative genius on the world. And she's currently writing a book on the topic and will soon launch her speaking tour, Creative Genius. Everybody give me a hashtag Creative Genius in the comments below, because that is, I have to find a way to go when she starts that tour. So in other news, her speaking career has taken her across North America, speaking to thousands, and is currently a certified presenter for My Life Online for grades 4 through 8, teaching kids to be safe, smart, and kind online. We need more of that in the world. She is a decorator, stylist, and DIY expert, and even an actress, appearing alongside Jennifer Garner in the hit film Juno. Everybody, please welcome Wendy Russell to the show.
Hi. How are you?
We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
I totally went after I met you, and I was Stalker Jessica and hunted down that clip from Juno, and I was like, I know her, yay!
Oh yes, my whopping 3 seconds that didn't hit the cutting room floor in Juno. Yes, I had one person that I was working with at the time when the movie came out, and she said, I went and saw Juno in the movie theaters last night. I said, oh yeah. And she said, you made the most of that 3 seconds, girl. Like, I can't even tell you. I was like,
so much fun. So do you have room? Do you have room as an actress and a speaker and all of the things you do? Do you have room to be lazy in your life, Wendy?
Oh boy. You know, it's an interesting thing. And I was listening to you guys talk about laziness. I am like a shark. I can't sit still. And I think if I stop moving, I will die. So, and my mom and my stepdad were always doers. So I'm a product of them, and it's all their fault, but it's a good thing. And that said, you know, if somebody else is less of a doer, I'm not judging. It just happens to be in my DNA. But I will tell you what I think of when I hear the word lazy. My stepdad was in construction, and when I was a teenager, we lived in the house that he was putting an addition on. So they bought a bungalow, and they built a huge addition around this bungalow. And let's just say he didn't let myself and my sister off the hook and when it came to helping with the construction. So we're, you know, painting baseboards and installing window casings at, you know, the tender age of 14. And I was so unimpressed because, you know, as a teenager, it's more important to go to the mall with your friends than it is to do these things. So, but interestingly enough, every time he would teach me how to do something with a tool, he always made sure that I was using the right tool. And when I would go to grab something that wasn't the right tool, he would say, you know, don't be lazy. You need to use the right tool for the job. So that is my connection. So now I'm really cognizant, especially now because there's construction going on in the back because we're still working on this house. I'm really, that's what I'm looking out for, is the right tool for the job. And that's how things get done right. That's at the end of the day, and it gets done quicker. So I
love that perspective. And I think even that story ties back to what Jeremy was saying as well, to our perception of what that means. Yeah. So much of that goes back to our childhood and what people thought of, you know, what we were taught as lazy. And I think often when I think of that word, I think about my grandfather, who worked for the same company for 53 years and worked his way up from nothing. And literally, and I know this, I'm actually telling this story in the book that I'm working on right now, but he used to come in my room because his ties would hang in the closet in my room. He had like hundreds of different ties. And I would be woken up literally at 4:30 every single morning for him to come in and get those ties. But that's what I saw as like hard work. And, you know, you get up and you put your outfit on and you go off and you work hard. And that's what I saw as that as well. So it's really so much ties in from our childhood. And I know that has been your case in your story as well too, Wendy, looking back at your childhood and how things were for you. And I know you have a really cool breakthrough moment to share, but I'd love for you to take us back and kind of give us little pieces of Wendy along the way and how you got to doing all the things you do today.
Oh boy. Wow. Where to start? Okay. Okay. My first, I guess, connection to creativity. My mom was very creative. My mom studied interior design. She was also super crafty, both my grandmothers. So I was, you know, always, you know, making things as a kid, and we learned to make things out of nothing. So we had, you know, my mom would give us some paper towels and a couple of markers and like go and make something. And so, you know, that was kind of how we learned, and you used what you had. And so I started very young with that sort of crafty mind, and always, you know, and living in homes that were always, you know, beautifully decorated by my mom. So I always had that bug as well. So that was also a creative outlet for me. But then I had also grown up, you know, singing and dancing and some acting. And so I think at some point it had shifted to, I'm going to be an actor when I grow up. So that went and got an agent when I was still in high school. And nothing prepared me for the amount of rejection that was coming my way from auditions. And I was in Vancouver in the heyday of, you know, it was Hollywood North, and there were some days where I had 6 auditions a day. It was so busy. But, you know, you can't win them all, as they say. And, you know, I'd get some every now and then and whatever, but it was really hard. And what I realized I was doing was, when I would have what I perceived as an absolute, you know, crap audition, I would come home and somehow mix up an entire batch of cookie dough with the full intention of putting it in the oven, you know, for my husband to come home and have, you know, enjoy the cookies with me. But I ended up eating all of the cookie dough before it even made it in there, and feeling horrible and going, what was I doing? And then if I had a great audition, I would, you know, take myself out for a fancy, you know, coffee, like a Starbucks and a giant cookie. And I'd be like, yay, you. And I realized there was something around food. Well, I had come across a book at a bookstore that said, when you eat at the refrigerator, pull up a chair. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. What a cute title. Haha. And it was like a little book and it looked very readable. And so I kind of mowed through that, and I was like, interesting. And the author on the back was actually Janine Roth, who wrote Woman, Food, and God. But her original book was When Food is Love. And I read this book, and I, you know, laying in bed every night, reading a chapter and crying myself to sleep every night. I'm sure my husband was just like, what is happening over there? Like, you were just sobbing. It was like I had written the book. I'd never heard anybody articulate, you know, this, you know, abuse of food and connection to food that was so similar to mine. And other, you know, rather than, you know, what we usually hear of eating disorders, which is bulimia and anorexia, she had compulsive overeating disorder. And that was exactly what I was doing. I was, you know, eating large amounts of food at, you know, certain times to fill the void, you know, feed the pain.
So I have a question though, sorry.
Yeah.
As someone who's never gone through something like that, where it's been food or whatever, when you did it, when you were eating all that stuff, what did you feel better about yourself afterwards? Or did you go and have that self-talk where, I can't believe I did that. I cannot believe, you know, like, and I always wonder, like, does it actually help, or does it just make it worse?
It absolutely makes it worse. Yeah. You think, you know, oh, I'm going to feel better after. But it's so deep in the subconscious, you have no idea that that's actually what you're doing. You're just like, and at first, until there's an actual realization, you're just like, oh, I feel terrible. But until you catch what you're doing, and it wasn't until I read the book that I realized that there was actually the subconscious at work that was trying to make me feel better, but it never helped. No. So it never did. And, you had Chris Burns on, on episode 3, and he said the same thing. He used to play a ton of video games because he was, having some hardships in life and difficulties, and he didn't know how to deal with it. And so he was doing video games and drinking and partying, and he was numbing and avoiding, and that's what I was doing. But what I realized from reading Janine Roth's book is that I had replaced all my years of creativity by making something with my hands with food. And so I made a conscious effort to come home from an audition, instead of eating, that I would make something. So I started either, refinishing a piece of furniture, or sewing something, or painting something. And I started realizing, oh, hang on, I think this is the cure-all. This is the thing, Chris said, addictions keep you stuck. And it was that mind shift of what can I do differently rather than going to food. And this applies to every addiction. Rather than going for a cigarette or a drink or going shopping or whatever, what can I replace that is going to fill that void and fill my soul and make me happy? That's creative. And I'm not saying I'm not telling everybody to run out and be an artist. That's not what creativity is about in any way, shape, or form. But I really, truly believe we are all born geniuses. And more importantly, we are all born creative geniuses. We just need to acknowledge that and let it out. And some people say to me, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I'm just not that guy. But I truly believe that we have that in there, and we actually need it to thrive and survive. And we need it, it's the key to dealing with loneliness. It's the key to dealing with any adversity. It's the key to not feeling good enough is our creativity. And that could be expressed with picking up a musical instrument or taking a cooking class, or it could be, for my husband, he's an accountant. He loves nothing more than making me a spreadsheet. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, he's like, oh, what kind of spreadsheet do you want? I love it. So he's into complex mathematical equations, and that he loves that, but he also loves to cook. So, and he used to be a props guy, but there's all these things that we can try. And I think that's one of the things, people are afraid to try something. They're like, oh, I'm not going to be good at it, or I don't know what I like, or whatever. It's really just about taking that step and trying something, and, and seeing what you like. And I don't want to call it a hobby, because hobby, I think, has this bad connotation. It's kind of like, your granny used to do,
you can knit and crochet,
right? Which is actually cool and hip, by the way. I have some very, very cool friends that are have made, brought back needlepoint, have brought back embroidery, have brought back knitting, and they have made it so hip and cool. And it's not about, becoming an artist. It's, I just want everyone to know that they are creative. In fact, there's an author and neurologist, Alice Flaherty. She says that creativity applies as much to business and IT and science and math as it does to those things that we typically think of as creative, which is writing and art and music and theater and all of that. So,
and I really love the fact that you're broadening that out, because I'm hearing you. The resistance, of course, as soon as you hear creative, for people who are not willing to pick up a glue gun and a bow, it's like, that's not me. I don't do crafts. But this is beautiful, because without that creativity, what are we doing as a person here on this earth? And that's very powerful, what you're saying.
Thank you. Yeah, 100%. And what really, really struck me was that after I filmed She's Crafty, which was my show on HGTV, I went and worked in office settings as a television producer for other networks. And, it was mostly a 9-to-5 gigs. Some days, and let's say some people worked 9 to 5 and some worked 10 to 3. And then there was some people like me that worked 7 to 7. But anyways, what I found in the office setting, even though I was working in a creative field, I would watch a lot of people. They would just kind of do their job, and then they would go home and they would watch 8 hours of television and get up and do the same thing next day. And they didn't have anything that was filling them or making them happy, or, you know, diverting them from, you know, just growing in this world. And I feel like your creativity is going to propel you in life beyond your wildest dreams, whether you decide to be a car salesman or a mathematician or, you know, a doctor or whatever it is. I've also noticed in the school system, a lot of the school systems are taking out the creative courses that, you know, I was fortunate enough to take in school. And
I'm so glad you are talking about this, because that's something that one of the biggest reasons that we homeschool, because music was my creative. I was in every drama band, jazz band, chorus, select chorus, you know, that was my thing and my safe place.
Yeah.
And when things weren't great at home, that was my respite. That was my everything for me. And so when my kids weren't going to have that too, I said, no way, no, I can't do this. And it breaks my heart, because though I have literally, and I have to say hi to Diane and Robin and Wayne. Those are 3 of my music teachers who I have on my Facebook, because I just love them. So they were such a huge role in my life. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it really breaks my heart.
Yeah. And so I think that is, you know, that was sort of the, you know, the reason where I just thought, you know what, people need to know that they are all creative geniuses. They're going to argue with me until they're blue in the face, but this is my mission, that everybody knows that they are creative geniuses right there. And that it's just, you know, the interesting thing is Dr. Andrew Brink from, is he a doctor? Anyways, Department of Psychiatry at McMaster, he had said creativity is the original antidepressant. Can you imagine? So if we just allowed ourselves to express our creativity in whichever way, shape, or form whatever that looks like, who needs antidepressants, right? You know, it's the beauty of, you know, when we create with our minds in our hands, that it's helping us work through inner conflicts, and we don't even realize that that's what's happening. So that's why I find it so, you know, critical and important for everybody to know this.
Okay.
And now that you're saying that, what did creativity do for you once you found that creativity was helping with your depression? How did it change your life?
So it gave me the courage. So it was interesting. It gave me the courage to put myself out there and share my creativity so that I could encourage others to be creative. So that manifested itself as I went to the local TV station in Vancouver, and I pitched myself as like, hey, I can come on and do a segment every week with cool DIY and craft segments. And they were like, sure, we'll give you a try. We have no idea who you are, but let's give it a whirl and see how it goes. We'll do one, and if you suck, that's it. But I was on there as a regular for a while. And then from there, I produced some videos that I actually went on the shopping channel and sold some DVDs that I did, you know, and just put those together, sort of a la Martha Stewart at the time. But I was sort of trying to do the anti-Martha Stewart in that, of course, all of her craft projects were amazing, but her stuff was really heavily based on expensive tools and all of the tools that you had. Like you needed the $200 laminator, and you needed the, you know, this, and I'm like, I don't have that. I was going back to what my mom and my grandmother taught me, which was use what you have. So the video had all of that. So I did the videos, I did the TV show. And from there, I had found out that at the time, HGTV Canada, in their mandate, the CRTC had required them to have a craft show as part of their lineup of shows. And at the time they didn't have one. So I pitched the show. I actually pitched, this is the funny part, I pitched a reality show, because everybody, all my mentors and everyone I talked to said, oh, honey, you can't just pitch a show with you just standing there doing things. You have to pitch competition show. It's all about reality. You've got to make it dramatic. I was like, I just want to show people cool things and not be stressed about like, you know, because I was never like a reality show person. They stress me out when I watch them. I'm like, just like too much. So anyways, I humored all of my producer mentors and I pitched this reality show and HGTV said, yeah, no, we're not, I don't think our viewers are going to be interested in a reality show. And I was like, oh, so I had my 5 minutes with HGTV to pitch this show. And I thought, oh, that's it. I've blown it. I've given them a terrible idea. They're not going to, this is, you know, it's all over. And she said, and here's what you need to know. I had a pitching coach who helped me through this. And one of the brilliant things, so for anybody watching, whoever wants to pitch a network, I'm going to give you one of the most genius nuggets I have ever received of advice. My pitching coach said to me, why do you need to host this show? And I said, because I love crafting. I don't know. Like, I was like, what? I'm like, she's like, no, seriously, like, why do you need to host a show? Because you're going to, HGTV is going to come back to you and they're going to say, we know, 10 people that we could have host the show that have already hosted shows for us, or they're up and comers and whatever. We have no idea who you are, what's happening. So I had told my pitching coach about this story, how creativity, saved my life. It changed my life in such a way that I realized that if I could share my creativity and share, and inspire others to be creative, that it could probably help, even if it helped one person, I was going to be thrilled beyond words that they could use creativity to get out of being stuck or, something going on in their lives. So she said, you need to tell HGTV that story. I'm like, I got 5 minutes. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I got a show to pitch. She's like, you need to share that story about how, you came home and you were eating cookies and then you switched to creativity and it changed everything for you. You need to tell that story. So if you ever get in a position where you're pitching a show and they say, why you have to be so connected to the material that it's, you're the only person they will ever have to consider or need to consider to do that. So she said,
okay, I want to bring it, sorry, before you go on, I want to bring it back to when you were at the moment of, before you actually, did your creativity, but after you realized it. For somebody, again, who's in that point where it's like, I'm not creative, I'm not anything, what would you suggest for them? Because obviously there's people watching and you're like, oh, that's great, you're doing crafts, like it's great, like as much as I'd love to do crafts and make something out of nothing,
sure,
I'm not there, but I'm a web designer, or I'm whatever, or I like making spreadsheets.
Sure.
From that point, like, do you suggest to do the same thing? Do you suggest them to come home and make a spreadsheet, or like kind of thing? Like what kind of things do you like? What are the first steps for that person?
Okay, well, first of all, I think the internet has totally changed our existence as far as, what we have access to and what we can learn. So if there's a topic that interests you, go to the internets, the World Wide Webs, and Google stuff and watch videos of other people doing things, and maybe you'll be inspired to do a podcast or a web series on Facebook, or you ultimately, you also need to listen to messages too. And I think you guys will all appreciate this. I had people that would come over to my house and they're like, oh my God, where did you get that? And I'm like, oh, I made it. And they're like, oh, whoa, can you teach me? And I had so many people. So I was hearing this message over and over. Can you teach me? Can you teach me? Can you teach me? So that was kind of the catalyst for me pitching myself to the local news channel and doing the videos. And I was like, maybe I'm meant to teach and share. So listening to what, people suggest to you, or, say, hey, you're really good at that. Or, oh my gosh, you make the best carrot cake I have ever tasted in my entire life. And then you're like, okay, well, that's my thing, and maybe it's whatever it is, but there are always messages. I think we just open ourselves up to listening to the people around us that care about us, that, say things and you're like, that seemed odd, but then you're like, hey, hey, you're really good at that. So listening to that, going with your gut. If you're a full-grown adult and you're like, I'm at a massive loss here. I mean, I speak at high schools to kids about this, and some of them haven't even started to tap into their creativity. But for adults who have pushed their creativity away for so long, maybe go back and think, what did I love to do as a kid? Like for me, I loved jazz class, like jazz dance class, like I can't even tell you. And I've had a super hard time finding a good one that I like in Toronto, oddly. My best favorite class in the whole world was in Vancouver, taught by Lee Torlage. She's amazing. And so I started dance again. That was the other thing. So I took dance class again when I was an adult, because I was just doing all of these things to sort of just, move and distract away from food. I was like, I'm gonna do all the creative things now. So I went back to dance class, and I honestly thought that I was going to be as good, 15 years or, whatever it was, 12 years later when I quit when I was a teenager. I walked into like an intermediate level class, and I had my butt handed to me. Like, I can't even tell you. They were dancing circles around me, and I was so embarrassed. And then by the time I left the class, I literally walked home and cried my eyes out. I was like, I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. I can't dance. What's happened to me? I was so upset. And then I was like, no, you got to go back. And something told me to go back. I don't know. Because I was ready to like throw in the towel. I was like, that was dumb. Mm-hmm. But yeah, try things again that you loved as a kid. That's another big one. There are so many options out there. Maybe ask your friends, what do you think I'm good at? Or ask your parents, what did I love to do as a kid? And your mom's gonna go, are you kidding me? You were like amazing at the ukulele. Like, I don't know, but like whatever it is. So it's about putting it out there. It's about, asking the people that you love. It's listening to the messages. It's going with your gut and just try stuff. There's no harm, no foul when you're just trying things, right? So maybe don't go out and buy the $4,000 guitar until you've actually like taken a few. but yeah, I feel like, I played guitar in high school. And when I say played, it was a very bad version of playing. I can't even believe that the band teacher.
Was it around like the campfire and everyone was trying to?
Oh, no. I was in the band in high school playing the electric guitar. But when I say playing, I use the term loosely because I was probably just there for the boys, gotta be honest. But I think now, like, that was still an instrument that I want to go back to. I actually have my electric guitar here in the house hanging on the wall that at some point, I think, by the time my husband and I get around to it, we'll be 80 and we'll have formed a band and we'll call it the Retirees or something. I don't know. But it's Rockin' and Almost Dead is what we're gonna call it. I don't know, but
that's awesome.
Okay, you have to do it that Rockin'.
And hopefully I will be up in that area by that time, and I will come and play with you guys, and it'll be so fun. And we'll get Blake to come too.
Yeah, I have my whole band with us. Yeah.
Groupie, because music is not my thing.
Okay.
At all. Not my creative outlet ever.
Groupie's good.
Well, let me ask you, Wendy, to kind of bring things home a little bit here. You had that read the book, and you had this revelation that you needed to do something instead of eating, right? All the cookie dough. And so do you think that you were able to make that transition into doing something creative because you were ready, because it was a good timing, because you heard it? Because I know when we're talking about people saying, listening to those around you when they say, oh, this is a wonderful meal, or that's a beautiful painting, and listening to that, it's so easy for us as an adult to go, oh yeah, it's just, we're so modest. We're like, oh, it's just a little something, And so do you feel like, you have to be ready to do the next thing? Do you feel like you have to be in the right space to do something instead of something that's toxic for you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think there's something to that for sure. I think when we are ready and hear a message that we take action on it, I think that makes a ton of sense. Because here's a great example. I read The Artist's Way when I was in acting school, because all of my acting pals were reading it and they were like, oh, this is cool. First time I read it, I only read chapter 1, and then I put the book back on the shelf and I was like, ooh, that's a lot. So that book was actually a huge part of my shift as well, in living a creative life. And then I picked it up again. I was like, oh, something compelled me. And then I got to chapter 3. And then there were some really personal questions I had to answer in there, and I put it back on the shelf. It took me 3 times to get through the whole book and actually read, the whole thing and do all of the exercises. So obviously the first 2 times I was not ready for it, was my point. So by the 3rd time I was like, okay, yes. So yeah, reading that book by Janine Roth, for sure. I need you to know that was not like an instant switch. This has been a very long journey with me and food. So it's even there are some days even where I'm like, oh wow, I because she teaches to eat when you're full, or stop eating when you're full. So that's really what it is. So it's really just being so present when you're eating and paying attention to when you're full. And if that means taking 4 bites of something and you're full, you walk away. So there are days for sure where I'm like, oh, I just ate a whole hamburger and I probably could have gotten away with eating half a hamburger. So paying attention is really what I have to do on a daily basis around food. So it was not an overnight shift by any stretch of the imagination, but at least now I'm aware there's no binging that happens, because I'm now aware that it's like, oh, I'm feeling compelled to go to the fridge. What's happening? And then I'm like, okay, stop, and then I check in with myself. Why am I feeling that right now? What is it that's going on? That makes me want to comfort myself. Okay.
Did you also have to remove it from your house, like the cookie dough? Did you also have to never go buy it?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, let's be honest. I do not keep chips or cookie dough in the house, because it for sure would be a thing. Like it's much.
I think it's a psychological thing. Like you see it and you're not even noticing that you're seeing it, but you know it's there. Whatever. Yeah.
It's my favorite like go-to thing, right? So like if I have one of those snacky type things, I will eat that before I will, sit down and make myself a salad. So, I have to be super conscious that.
And this goes for everything, of like addiction wise, whatever. Like if you have it in your life, like you got to get rid of that first before you can even move on to the next. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I lost myself. I was taking notes here.
Well, I think we're all thinking about the things in our life where that applies, because that's everything. And it's not that thing is bad. I'm hearing I'm taking notes over here, but going back to the tools, food is not bad. Food's a tool. And these other things that you have, they're tools.
Yep.
But if we're misappropriating them or not using them correctly, then for us, I need to set that aside, get that out. So then I can start retraining my mind to take this energy and put it somewhere else. Absolutely. 100%. So good. Such a good conversation.
So many good things today, Wendy. And we're so thankful that you came on to share with us about this today, because I know that Gina was commenting, and Siri, and Gina was saying that she just really needed this message today. And so it's like what we were talking about some things come to you at the right time and you're ready for it. So thank you so much for sharing about everything. And I would love for you to take a minute and tell everybody what you're up to, where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Sure. Yes. So I speak to high school audiences, so grades 8 to 12, on creative genius and unleashing their creative genius on the world, and how it's just going to make the world a better place. So high school audiences, youth leadership conferences. My website for that youth audience is wendyrussellspeaks.com. And everything else is on wendyrussell.com. So I also speak to adult audiences about, right now it's the working title for my future TED Talk is how to make adulting a little more fun. And because some days when you're an adult, there's some tough days. So you know, it's about them being able to get back to, there's an 8-year-old inside of all of us that wants to get out and have fun. And so, you know, adults need to hear the message too, and be reminded that, you know, we gotta let ourselves have fun and be creative. So that's what I'm doing there. And then my renovation decor world lands on a TV show called Cityline, and their website is cityline.tv, and they've been following this house that we've been renovating for the last year. So that's on there. And I just got an email from the executive producer yesterday saying that it's now syndicated in, I don't know, 80 countries or something. It's on in the States. Yeah, so everybody can find it for sure. And I think when they repeat the episodes on cityline.tv. So
awesome. Well, we have put all of your links on our website and in the description of the video, and so you guys can check all those out there as well. And I love the work that you're doing with the Speaking with Blake as well, and his project with the kids, because that's something that's really close to my heart as well, having so many little ones around here and knowing how necessary all of that is. And so thank you for the work you're doing with that as well.
My pleasure. Listen, I need you to know that Blake has actually just shifted the way that they are presenting this to schools. So up until now, they've actually been using live presenters, but as of September, they're moving to a digital option. So they have so they put so the presenter thing is aside. So my chapter is closing with Blake and Dave, unfortunately, but they're going to continue their legacy, teaching kids to be safe, smart, and kind online in a digital world. So the teacher or the schools now have the option to buy a program where they give the presentation digitally, and then there's a certification program that goes with that. So the students follow along on a weekly basis, and they learn that, and that's for grades 4 to 8.
Very exciting. And even though that chapter may be closing for you, you were, you know, I know doing amazing things with that. And so I'm always appreciative to anybody who's contributing to making our youth better and brighter, and, you know, having so many possibilities as they grow up. And so I'm just very appreciative of that, and very appreciative that you were here on the show today. Thank you so much, Wendy, for being here with us.
Thrilled to be here.
Thank you.
All right. And awesome. And we will see you next time, Wendy.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, guys.
Hi.
All right, guys. So let's talk about what Wendy, so many good things. I was taking notes over here and kind of like tapping out. I know you were taking notes too, Jeremy.
Yeah, there are so many good things. I love the idea about the tools, right? That she brought in several times. The idea about keeping it moving, especially if you feel yourself going towards that direction of the rut. So, I mean, it's a program, right? We've been programmed that that's the way I can feel better. So just saying, no, I need to keep moving past that or replace it, not just taking something away, but replacing it. And then the other thing that came out to me is we're talking about the subconscious trying to get you to feel better, that even these addictions, it's our inner self saying, well, I'm not sure what's going on with you, but I love you, so try this. I love you, so do this. I love you. And when we can become aware that it's just really about trying to comfort ourselves or move ourselves past a traumatic situation, that we can choose something other than what our body is automatically choosing for us. But it really comes from a place of love, that we are seeking to be known, to be heard, to be loved, to become whole after we've passed through something that may have been a little bit difficult. So it's just a really good talk and reminder.
Yeah, so for me, it was just, it's the habits. Like every time she was saying about something like that she would do, and then it would create this trigger habit. And it was a habit, so she kept going. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it all comes down to changing your habit. Like regardless of whatever it is, whether it's eating, whether it's smoking, whether it's drinking too much pop, whether any of that, you know, it's the habits that we have. And I'm much like, and of course, maybe it's also brought my attention because I'm also reading a book about habits. And it's no matter what, it's changing that habit of, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store. Am I grabbing that cookie dough, or am I going to grab that, you know, that salad, whatever. It's the habit, it's changing it. And you can't expect it to happen overnight. Like she said, let me just tell you, this didn't happen overnight. It's a process of changing those habits, which also change your mindset about it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so I absolutely love that. And
I love the fact that she, with creativity, the broadening that out, because really ultimately creativity in a spreadsheet. I mean, we need to hear that. It's not just bows and ribbons or crafting, but creativity is finding where you are meaningfully bringing life to something. And when we find that, like it was said, we don't need to have these addictions. We don't, because we are fulfilled and we are a happier being and making a happier place in this world. So that was really, really great.
I hear that all the time, so I tend to be more on the physical crafts and music, and I like to paint. I like a lot of the arts in general. And so, people will see something that I've done or hear music or whatever and say, well, I couldn't do that, but it really is about finding where you're creative and where you thrive and what really works for you. And I loved her advice of, let's start taking seriously when our friends or our family members say, hey, that casserole is really good, like you should sell that, or or that painting is amazing, you should bring that to a gallery or whatever. We're so quick as adults to be like, oh, it's just,
well, it even comes down to being creative in speech and giving a speech to people. Like I know there's a bunch of people that you look at them and you're like, you should be doing this more often than not. Like, that's just your creative outlet. It's not necessarily putting, like you said, hot glue gun to a bow deal, but that's a creative outlet, is speaking, or that's a creative outlet doing the spreadsheet, doing a website page. Like, somebody who can do the back end of something, that's their creativity. But they're like, I don't even think about that. I can do that in my sleep.
Absolutely. I had that happen when I was a child. People would say, oh, you're so creative, you're so artsy. And I would pull back from that because I knew that wasn't something that fit into the adult world very well. So I would say, no, I'm not that, versus what we're hearing now, leaning into that and saying, I'm going to go as far as I can with that, and it will lead the way to my productive life, and just really opening those doors up for people.
Well, and she even said, like, okay, just try it. It may not be your thing. Like, so my family, the women in my family, they all quilt. Well, most of them quilt. So we had this women's, weekend where everyone was quilting. My aunt had to finish my quilt.
But you tried. You tried.
Well, I tried. So I knew, I know, I'm more hands-on, but I was like, okay, quilting's not mine, but it absolutely is my aunt's creative outlet. Like 100%. She has made so many quilts for us. They are gorgeous. My children have some. Like, that is one blanket. Like, those are the blankets we will never, ever throw out. But that's her creative outlet. But could she do a scrapbook like I could? No. But she'll tried the one weekend as well. And it was like, and my sister, oh my God, let's not even talk about my sister and her lack of physical creativity, because she put glue on paper, stick, glue, stick, glue, stick. And she's like, I'm done. But her creativity is totally different, because she knits and she crochets, she does all that stuff. And I'm like, everyone has their own, just because. And
it comes in so many different ways. I mean, we don't need everybody quilting. We need someone building a spaceship to the moon or beyond. I mean, we need everybody at their fullest.
We need the architects. We need the, all those people, the scientists. They're creative.
And that's all creative, creative.
I think it's really something that we can close out with today, is to think about possibilities. If we embrace what we're good at and what we feel really good about, and we don't feel bad about the things that maybe we're not so great at, what a beautiful opportunity for us to support people in what they're good at, to give them support, to hire them, to have that wealth going around, a little bit. You don't have to be good at everything, but it's such a beautiful opportunity we have to support people and what they're good at. And I think,
notice that and tell them, like, if you notice that somebody's like gave you a fantastic spreadsheet or a PDF, be like, that was fantastic. Like, thank you. Like, just being able to be aware of that and telling those people. Like, we're so quick to criticize, but we're not so quick to give the compliments, right?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say, because my husband and I talk about that all the time, and he's in the car business, and you see so often if someone has a bad experience, how quick they are to jump on and leave a review. Oh, this could be a whole nother hot topic. How quick they are to jump in and leave a review saying, oh, this is the worst dealership. This is the most horrible experience I ever had. But he literally has to fight to say, hey, did you have a great experience? If you did, please tell us those things. So that you're so on with that, Heather. Tell them when they're doing something well, so that they know, hey, I should be doing more of this. Thank you guys so much for being on today. This was really an amazing show. We want to give a big thank you to Wendy Russell. Again, her information is on our website, and also you can find her at wendyrussell.com, as well as the other websites listed in the description of this video or audio where you are watching or listening. I want to give a big thank you to our fabulous panelists today. We had Heather Clark, our declutter coach and consultant. Heather, we will see you next time. And we have Jeremy Witcher helping us bridge the spiritual to the human aspects of our lives. See you next time, Jeremy. And again, big thank you to all of you for watching and listening today. We are so thankful that you have been with us, and we would love for you to continue the party in the comments if you are watching on video, and let us know your biggest takeaways from Wendy's story and our hot topics, of course, today. Also want to thank our sponsors, patrons, and broadcast partners. Thank you for helping us spread the inspiration and positivity to the world. Special thanks to business patron Philip at Kia of Auburn. For all your vehicle needs in the Southeast United States, please visit kiaofauburn.com. Up next week, we move from getting fired up focus. So this whole last month, we have talked about getting fired up and getting passionate and doing the things that you love in your life, to a focus on relationships. So this is going to be an amazing month. We actually have a fantastic masterclass planned in our After the Breakthrough community. So make sure you check that out at patreon.com/thebreakthroughshow and join our After the Breakthrough community so you can be part of that masterclass with past panelists Lori Ann Davis as well. And then we have another incredible guest next week, Aviva Gorshnik, who will be talking to us about leadership through relationships. It's going to be really, really amazing and fascinating. Plus, we've got your hot topics, roundtable discussion, and we will dive deeper into season 3 of The Breakthrough Show. I want to thank you again so much for watching or listening wherever you are. I'm Jessica Dugas, the host of this show, and thank you so much for watching.
Tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com. And be sure to join our After the Breakthrough community powered by Patreon. We look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place for another inspiring episode.